everybody to our council. Very good, it's May 23rd, 2023. You like that, numbers all match. Okay, call to order, approval agenda as presented, but we do have some additions, which I would like to make note of before we have a motion. So under correspondence, we have the World Harvest Gospel tent meeting request for use at Carrot Park. So that would be under item number 6 for discussion. And then under business arising, we have business arising. Okay, that would be under E. There are 2 items, committee of the whole structure for a resolution after our committee of the whole meeting, and also storage speed vehicles. Okay,
Motion to approve as amended.
thank you. I have a second. Thank you, Trina. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. So let's carry on then. Adoption of our minutes, committee of the whole meeting on May the 9th. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Janet. All in favor? Okay, regular council meeting on May the 9th. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Brian. Any questions or amendments? No? Okay, all in favor? Okay, perfect, thank you. Minutes of our committee of the whole meeting held on May 15th for adoption. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Janet. Any amendments or questions? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, so we do have a delegation this evening. Thank you for coming. And we have Helen Owen, I believe it is, and Dr. Materis. Well, thank you. Please come up and have a seat. And first of all, I would just like to make that I didn't mention that this meeting is being held on the traditional territory of the Coquitlam people. So Yellowcastle to everyone this evening. Yes. And regrets come from our mayor, Pat Corbett-Labatt. She's out of town, but she does join us online. And so she sends her regrets, but she's here.
Where's the camera? Just if we're looking.
It is right there.
Oh, it's
It's the owl.
The owl.
Yeah. So it kind of goes around the table. So whoever's speaking, you get to be on there. Okay, so we'll turn it over to you. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you very much for having us. Just to introduce myself briefly, my husband and I moved here just over a year ago from Prince George. We moved here to be closer to family. And I have to say, we love Port Hardy. It's wonderful. So we're very, very happy to be here. My background, I have medical background as well as charitable organization and fundraising background. Many, many decades ago, I was trained as an operating room technician in Winnipeg. So I worked in various different health facilities in the operating room around Manitoba. And then as we moved around with my husband's job, I work in medical clinics, veterinary hospitals, and when we moved up to Prince George or to Terrace, I became interested in the Canadian Cancer Society, and I started as a volunteer there, and I worked for over 15 years there, primarily as a fundraising coordinator. In the last years that I worked, I was the team lead overseeing all the fundraising and events in Northern BC. And the last year and a half before I retired, I was the manager of the Northern region. So I oversaw all operations, fundraising, and all of that. So when I heard about the Community Health Center, I was very, very interested, and I reached out to Alex to say, can I help with anything? And here I am. So my role as interim executive director is one of the main things is to create a nonprofit society, and we are well underway to doing that. Once we have nonprofit status, we will apply to Canada Revenue Agency for registration, and that will enable us to do some fundraising as well as provide receipts for donors. I've been liaising with other health nonprofits, West Shore Community Health Centre, Whistler 360, and the BC Association for Community Health Centres. I've been involved in community engagement regarding naming and promotion of the health center, as well as forming a board of directors. I'm happy to say that we do have an interim board of directors, and their role is to help create the nonprofit society, finalize the naming process, and have a ceremony at the appropriate time, promoting community awareness and support, as well as seeking input from the community as to the needs the community has for the community health center. We will create a fundraising committee or foundation when the time is right. And our current board members are Dolores Sanderson, Sherry Carew, Joy Walkus, Kelly Dukes, and Heidi Zealand. We had our first board meeting May the 9th, and it was wonderful. It was what a powerhouse group of women. I was just really, really thrilled to meet everyone, and I'm excited to work with them on this project. Brief overview on that. We did propose a new name, which has been submitted to the BC societies, which is required for formation of a nonprofit. So that I'm hoping that we hear back from them, I hope, in the next week or so, and then we can get moving ahead and make some announcements. Community Health Center. Community Health Center is community governed. Essential to the success of our community health center is community support and direction. At its foundation is a commitment to evidence-based, culturally safe, accessible primary health care led by physicians. We build out from that to incorporate allied health providers and team members, which include pharmacists, associate physicians, physician assistants, nurses, nurse practitioners, social workers, educators, yoga instructors, physio, occupational therapists, traditional healers, and medicine people. We use a lifestyle-based lens that strives for medical approaches to optimize wellness rather than just heal illness. Our community health center has 5 key principles. The first is clinician autonomy. Second is social and health justice and equity. Third, it's community-led. Fourth, it's team-based. And fifth is cultural safety. The key principle is ensuring clinician autonomy, that physicians and allied healthcare providers can work to their full scope in the service of the North Island community. As long as a clinician is fully licensed with their college, they are eligible at the Community Health Center. Our goal is to offer space where they can practice to the full scope of their practice, as defined by their regulatory college licensure. The purpose of our Community Health Center is to ensure the North Island population is living with access to health and wellness care. Our mission statement: we provide a welcoming space where healthcare practitioners can provide accessible, culturally safe, and trauma-informed care, working to the full scope of their practice. Our Community Health Center is in the Thunderbird Mall. Floor plan is 2,800 square feet. There will be a large waiting room, 4 small exam rooms, 2 larger exam rooms, a large central area to be used for group medical visits, teaching, yoga, meditation, and group musculoskeletal treatments, which is massage, physio, that kind of thing. We're very grateful to all the contractors who are helping make this a reality. Daryl Miller Contracting, Brian Texmo, Tex Electric, Patterson Plumbing, Norman Micah's Painting, Blake Keene Drywall, and Rainforest Woodworking. Construction has begun in earnest, and it's moving along quite well. We hope to be open early July, but the 3rd week in July is our hard deadline. We currently have 4 MDs who are joining the health center: Dr. Sue Booth, Dr. Chris Gardner, Dr. Howie Lee, and Dr. Alex Naros. So they'll be there when we open in July. The doctors have full autonomy, which I mentioned before is very, very important. Physician assistants. Now, I know the council, I believe, wrote a letter of support in January, and about a month ago, I think we had some very, very wonderful news coming from the minister, and the government has essentially, if I'm not mistaken, approved. They have sent the paperwork to the college to determine the parameters that the physician's assistants will be working under, and We have someone interested in relocating to Port Hardy as a physician assistant, and I believe that there has been money put aside for that role once the college puts everything in place. So that is huge for Port Hardy and the North Island. It's huge for the province because physician assistants are greatly needed. We have an occupational therapist, Charlotte Balasager, who has joined the health center, and she will be coming, well, we're not sure of the schedule yet, but she will be coming. She comes to Port Hardy already. She has clients up here, so she's going to be coming and working out of the community health center, as well as we have chiropractor and some registered massage therapists who are working to get into the center. There will be no private charges except an option for subsidized allied health providers, such as chiropractor or occupational therapists, things like that for people with their extended health. And as I mentioned, we would be looking at a fundraising component once we get nonprofit status. So that way, hopefully, you know, as the community comes to us with needs for assistance in the center, then if there's a group of people who fall between the cracks where they don't have private, you know, extra private insurance, and there isn't any grants available or anything like that, hopefully we can do fundraising that everything can be covered, so everything's accessible to anyone who needs it. Funding support will be through physician overhead, as well as community support. And right now we're currently in search of an office manager. We posted the position and it closes on June the 9th. So hopefully we'll get lots of interest in that. And to ensure adequate health care for the north end of the island. We shouldn't be divided into sides, because the bottom line is that all of us at some point are going to need health care in its various forms. If not today, then in the future, and if not for ourselves, then for a loved one. I'm personally very excited to be working on this project, and excited to see it finished and the doors open. Thank you.
Councillor.
Well, great. Thanks very much, Tom. Just in brief, maybe flip over, not the text, but the opposite side. It's just the blueprint for the center. Just for your reference, I think it's on the screen for the mayor as well, hopefully. So again, just to highlight, this is not a medical clinic, so it's quite different in terms of the model, right? The community health center is something that's established across BC and actually in centers around the world. It's a evidence-based, highly effective way of bringing together teams in healthcare delivery, and it's something that you know, can be very cost effective. One specific example, you look in the heart of our clinic is a common activity room, right? And this is going to be a carpeted, warm, welcoming area with a lot of glass, quite different from, you know, a sterile medical healthcare setting, right? This is a setting where we will do group medical visits. For example, physicians can bill for group visits. This is something that we don't do enough. People learn a lot through coming together in community, right? I have high blood pressure. Let me talk to you about your high blood pressure. What do you do? What do you do for going for runs, you know, eating well, avoiding alcohol? What are some of the tools, right? You can go and listen to some high and mighty physician proclaim what you have to do, but it's very different to actually talk to someone who's doing it, right? This is a model that's proven. Again, we don't do enough of. It is a low resource model that fits in a low resource community where people come together, they share what they're doing, and they learn from one another. It's something that I've been involved with as a patient and as a physician. It's transformative, so it's very exciting to see this coming. So I'm very grateful to Helen Owen for stepping up in leadership and devoting a huge amount of time, effort, livelihood to leading this project, putting together an exceptional board whose names, many of which you will recognize as leaders in our community over many years. So thank you very much. My role here tonight is just essentially on the physician side, a lesson coming out of a recent conference I attended in Niagara Falls for the Society of Rural Physicians of Canada, where I met with a group from Castlegar, which has, as you may and may not know, really done a great job recruiting physicians and retaining physicians. So really my key points tonight are recruitment and, more importantly, retention. So Castlegar has, over the past 5 years, as a mayor and council, devoted funds to physician recruitment. This is quite significantly separate from Interior Health being the health authority. And I think the, mayor and council in Castlegar, from what they've expressed to me, would be very open to sharing their best practices there. But they were very clear, as well as the individual they hired to lead this, very clear that it is very separate from Interior Health, the health authority. And their success has been afforded due to that independence. So I think that's just something that's worth highlighting in the big picture, because as I expressed when I had the opportunity and privilege to come here in the fall and speak with Lisa Stewart regarding physician assistants, as the North Island community, we are blessed with incredible natural resources, human resources, but we've been, underserved by our healthcare system. And it's currently a significant limit to growth and success in the community that we see, every day. And so I think, again, that emphasis on recruitment and retention is key. Having some commitment and support from the community level is essential. And it's essential to the success of our community. Recruitment, I highlight, for one, we have pre-existing programs. There's the PRA BC, that's the Practice Ready Assessment BC program that was tripled in size by our current provincial government in this past year that people may be familiar with. I've supervised PRA BC candidates who are physicians, typically trained overseas, who are fully licensed, who have their full exam licensure in Canada, but are not fully independent licensed, need to practice under physician. Dr. Howie Lee has been the lead for this program for the North Island, as well as Dr. Priyan Armagan in Fort McNeil. And so again, that's a great example of a program that helps recruit physicians. Another is the return of service program. But again, the retention is the big piece. And I think if you look historically, and certainly from what I've seen since I moved here in August, there has been a revolving door of physicians. Retention is not something that we thrive at, and frankly, we suck at it. And that's a big issue in our community because, again, it means that patients are, I would argue, continually, potentially, at best, made to rehash their story, their medical story, again and again and again, and at worst, re-traumatized again and again and again, because we have many patients in the North Island that are living with significant trauma histories. And it's frankly not fair to have them see a new provider every 2 years with a revolving door again and again and again. And it's not necessary. We have good examples. Again, I would point the council and mayor to Castlegar and other communities that have successfully led local leadership campaigns, not necessarily costing very much in terms of resources. The simple act of engaging, and Castlegar has engaged the physicians who are already there in the recruitment. Again, I'd point just in brief as I close up to our success already with this community health center in recruiting 4 new physicians or retaining 4 physicians to our community. To highlight, Dr. Howie Lee was set to leave our community in June. He is now committed to stay well beyond that. Dr. Chris Gardner reached out to me amidst some of the media attention generated by this council's letter in January and said, how can I help? I want to move to the island and help your community. And he's now committed as a full-time physician for at least 2 years. 2 years being arbitrary, he can stay as long as he wants, and he's very much interested in that. So he's to start August 1st. Dr. Sue Booth, who reached out again in January, February, and has already started as an addiction specialist, and myself. And again, in this current context, I would not be staying here if it wasn't for having this new community health center to practice in. So I think to highlight per Helen's final comment, we all win when we win in healthcare, right? There's no losers. The only losers are patients when we divide one another. And so this is a great opportunity. My greatest success would be to see our community health center and the Port Hardy Primary Care Center thriving, and they will be. As I first said in the fall when I had the privilege to present here, my goal is to see Port Hardy very well served in primary care. It's not a far reach. Helen highlighted that we have one in Linda Parish. a physician assistant that would start, tomorrow. Our ask was for June 1st. We just need to go ahead and we're still waiting on that. But we have three total physician assistants that are very eager to move to Port Hardy. These are clinicians that would work for half to a third the amount that you pay a physician. So working under physician's license, they can see, 80 to 90% of what a physician sees. So along with June 1st, we have Kristen Ireton and the pharmacy teams that have expanded scope of practice as of June 1st. That means they'll be able to prescribe for respiratory infections, shingles, urinary tract infections, and other things that, again, demonstrate that primary care can be done by many hands outside of, the physicians. So we need to get all hands on deck. Thanks very much.
Thank you for coming. Now, any questions, Counselor? You go ahead, Brad.
Just looking for the definition of full autonomy. I'm not sure what that means.
Basically, it's physicians, the physicians are running their practice
And other clinics.
and other clinicians. If they're running it to the scope of their license
Okay,
in their different organizations. So it's physicians guided by physicians. It's occupational therapists guided by occupational therapists. And
That's right. What I'd say is that, our success to this very early point when we don't even have a concrete structure formed in terms of having myself and three other positions, those three other positions have come to me prior to the existence of the organization because they want autonomy. And the prior structures did not grant autonomy. What autonomy essentially means is, we have to jump through a lot of bureaucratic hoops to have a license in good standing with our College of Physicians and Surgeons of BC.
right, yeah,
So why would we create 10 more hoops to jump through, right? That literally are hoops that we have to spend hundreds of hours each year doing that get in the way of our ability to perform what are well-earned privileges, right? And
Right.
abilities demonstrated through decades of training.
Yeah.
And so, again, these community health centers have succeeded across BC and across Canada in committing to and assuring that clinicians have autonomy, because there's good evidence that clinicians, physicians, occupational therapists, right, chiropractors are much more satisfied in their practice if they have some agency, have some control, as you can see in, I'm sure, your practice, right? And so, if you're being dictated or told or what to do while you're a highly trained professional, it's probably not going to feel as worthwhile in your day-to-day.
right,
And your own ability to steward your resources in terms of your time and professional expertise being outside your control, and you actively being unable to care for patients to your full scope causes moral injury. And that's something that's pretty well documented.
right, okay. Oh, makes sense, thank you.
Thank you, Council. Any other questions? Thank you for coming. Patricia, did you have anything?
I did. Dennis, before we get started, do you have my little camera that's usually right behind your computer turned on?
Yes.
Okay,
But
so,
I'll block you out sometimes, unfortunately.
oh, what a
With my-
surprise.
I think I'm gonna move you over a little bit so I can see you better.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much, Helen and Dr. Nataras, for your presentation. And your comment about all types of healthcare is good for our community. Absolutely. Whether it is a community healthcare center or a primary healthcare center, we just want healthcare for our community members. And how that's done, we leave it to the professionals to do it. And I know, like, the primary health care was put in place because physicians didn't want to have to worry about the overhead and working out all the details. So physicians can work in private practice, or they can work in a primary health center or the community health care center. And it's wonderful that if we can get it to work. I believe West Shore Community Health Care Center is just getting going. They're not up and running yet, but they're working and striving hard. If I'm thinking it's the same one.
They're well underway. They've been seeing patients for a good while. Yeah. Dr. Jennifer Ross is the medical lead, and she and I are closely in touch that way.
Okay, maybe it's another one that's, is there another one is that one down in the
Whistler,
Victoria area?
well, there's a number of different clinics. I'm not sure exactly which one you're referring to. Whistler 360 is fairly new in its nonprofit society formation. So that it may be that is what you're referring to, but the existence of the clinics themselves has been longstanding. I think just in brief to say, my experience having worked in Comox Valley for 5 years and then readjusting to the North Island, our history here on the North Island is quite unusual in that most primary care has been delivered within health authorities. That is contrast to the rest of Canada. Most primary care in Canada is delivered in either nonprofit or private, private, publicly funded, but privately delivered healthcare spaces, such as private family doctors' offices, such as what Dr. Priyan Armagan has in Port McNeill. So I think exactly as you say, right, we're all playing for the same team. And so I think it's just important that council and the, collectively yourselves recognize that we're a little bit unusual and historically have been unusual here on the North Island. And, as just a single physician, I would suggest that may not have served Port Hardy very well. And so we're just suggesting not, a recruitment campaign for the community health center. I'm saying recruit physicians who want to work anywhere. Primary care center run by Island Health, a private clinic run by Priyan Armagan, a private, or a nonprofit center run by Helen Owen and the board of directors. Again, the purpose of clinician autonomy is clinicians decide where to go, but you have an exceptional product, and I truly believe you do, and Helen Owen has spoken to this, exceptional product in Port Hardy in the North Island, but you got to sell it better, right? You're not selling it to physicians, or the current structures are not selling it to physicians.
I'll just add one thing. I have my sister is in healthcare in Edmonton, and I've been talking to her about what's happening with our community health center. And when I told her we had the job description for the office manager set to go, she asked me to share it with her, and she shared it with 2 colleagues working for Alberta Health right now, because she says she knows that they have contacts that might be interested in applying and relocating. So you never know.
No.
It's a pretty clean air right now.
Yeah, we're very fortunate.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, Mayor, you had?
So I just want to make sure that we understand, are you asking us as a council to look at discussing putting money towards hiring our own personal recruiter to recruit doctors?
Yeah, I'd advise that you reach out or some mechanism to connect with Castlegar as an example. And there's other, districts that have done, but I've lived and have close friends who work as physicians and pharmacists in Castlegar. I think it's quite a comparable community to ours in some ways, and medically, I think it is. And I think you could have a, comparable effort there. As I say, I've reached out and spoken with the physician as well as the recruiter that have played a role there. The financials, I think, are less important than the commitment. If Port Hardy only has $50 to put towards a poster that I can take when I go to Whistler in a week and a half for the rural and remote conference for BC, that's something, right? And I can say, like, the mayor and council of Port Hardy is behind our efforts to recruit physicians who can go and work in all these places. So I'm just asking for a little bit of commitment. And so that can develop in terms of the tangible aspect. But I'd suggest that a start would be to connect with, districts such as Castlegar who've succeeded. Because so far, I think we have some room to improve.
Okay, thank you. And so I do know that Island Health has hired a physician recruiter specifically. So as well as a staff recruiter. So I'm not quite, we would have to reach out to them to find out how that would work, but certainly that could be discussed.
I'd just say, just briefly, as I said, the recruiter and Castlegar were very clear, and the mayor and leadership, councillors in Castlegar were very clear that they needed an approach that was separate from interior health. So I would just, respectfully suggest that yourselves, you have autonomy, and your autonomy suggests that, Island Health is one aspect, and it's great. I mean, I applaud that Island Health is putting resources into physician recruitment and staff recruitment. We need that. We need all hands on deck. And so this isn't stepping on toes at all. And so I just caution you that way. So, to the extent that you feel you need to get permission or otherwise, that's not for me to speak to, but I would just argue that, you lead the community and the buck stops with this table, right? And so we are here humbly asking for support in recruiting physicians.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you very much for coming in your presentation.
Okay,
Thank you
thank you
very
very much.
Thank you. You guys,
Appreciate it.
you have a great evening.
You as well. Thanks.
Okay. So let's move on to our business arising from the minutes of unfinished business, which is council action items. Is there anything in the council action items that you would like to discuss, council? Or ask questions about? If not, well, then we'll move on to number 2. The budget to fund Palomie Days request for electrical upgrades in Carrot Park for discussion. Go ahead,
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
go ahead, Heather. Look, John, go ahead, John, you had your hand up.
I want to speak to this, and the reason I want to speak to this is not just for Filmy Days. Filmy Days brought it up. Okay, the idea to have more power in the park, not that, like I say, Filmy Days did initiate it, but really it is additional power for every use. Like I see a use for like the farmers market and stuff like that, where they need power and stuff like that. So it's not just Filmy Days, and that's what I want to express.
Thank you, Counselor.
Yeah, thanks, John. We were already there.
Oh,
You were in
And
England.
yeah, you were in England.
Sorry,
John.
John.
You can sit down, John.
No, I just thought it would be fair to tell you, we had the discussion and Janet actually made that exact point.
Okay.
So,
thank you very much.
We're just looking for
Thank you
what
very
fund
much.
to take the money out of because it's not in the budget.
Yeah, and
Sorry,
then there
sorry.
was another discussion with regards to if the district of Port Hardy was going to be funding this totally. Then we needed to follow proper process with regards to getting quotes from other potential people in the industry. So, and that was passed on to staff. So does staff have something to present back to us with regards to that?
If anybody minds, I'm just gonna take a little rollback.
Okay, please.
quickly. So I totally agree with Councillor Tidbury. That was actually the first comment that I was gonna make, is that if we upgrade the power, everybody's gonna wanna use it, which means we can start charging for it, which means we can pay for the ongoing maintenance of it. So we definitely get people who ask us regularly, but the power is sometimes insufficient. It's also not really accessible. And right now it's underutilized at this point in time. So there's definitely a revenue source that could be made as a result of that. One of the things that I did watch the last meeting, and there was some discussion about the Palomie Days paying for it. And so I have just a couple of things that I just wanted to say about that. So one of them would be is that obviously if we upgrade the power and we pay for it, we're gonna be charging, which means we'd be charging Palomie Days whenever they want to use it. So there could be a Sharesy donation grant that may come from the Palomie Days if they're so inclined to help pay for that, which means that they get power for the rest of their duration of their time forever and never have to pay for the ongoing maintenance of that with that donation. We looked at our budgets and we found that at the end of 2022, we had about $2,500 left in the maintenance budget of the Carrot Park. And then we had about $1,000 left over in the supply budget. So there's about $3,500 that we anticipate having left over that we could take out of our current operational budget, which is just short of the $5,000 opportunity. So there might be an opportunity to accept a donation from Employee Days in order to prevent them from ever having to pay in the future. And similar to the use of the, for instance, the hospital auxiliary bought us a truck for the fire department. They're paying for half of the training facility, et cetera, et cetera. So it could be used as a grant. So that's what I've said about that. In terms of having to go up for quote, I think that Cam actually addressed it at the last meeting. Anything that's over $5,000 requires 3 verbal quotes. So we could go and look for those as well, given the fact that we would have to also note that one particular proponent is willing to donate, and see if there's anybody else who's willing to do the same thing. So that it's an even playing field. And so that's what I have to say about that. If it was going to be more than $3,500, which is in the budget, then it would just it would adjust our budget at the bottom line at the end of the year with regards to that. The reason why I haven't adjusted it to capital is because it's $5,000. It is maintenance of the park. I did also check to make sure that there was no requirement for digging, because if that was to happen, then there'd be an extra $5,000 cost that would have to go along with that. So I have confirmed that there would be no digging on the site.
Perfect.
May I speak?
Yes, go ahead, Pat, please.
The chair of Flomy Days has made a comment in the chat function. So perhaps have a look at that comment. Thanks, Leighton.
It says Philomi Days Society would be willing to support the project with funding depending on the total expectation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so where are we at then with regards to the district side of it, with regards to getting the other quotes? Before we can make a decision, because we have to have other quotes then? Before we,
Well,
how does that work? You said if it's gonna be under 5,000, you have to get 3 verbal quotes, but if you're only gonna pay 3,500 and we're gonna pay it, the extra, do we have to get 3 quotes? That's another question.
yes, because the total project is
The
still
total
coming
project's
from
5,000.
from the district.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
And my question now is this becoming a community project? Or is it still coming under the banner of the Philomi Days?
And the question is, would we be managing it or would Philomi Days?
No, the question is, so as you know, I'm a member of the Philomi Days committee and I want to know where I'm standing.
Mm.
Whether, and the question becomes, if it's a community proposal rather than a Philomi Days proposal, then I think I can vote on it. But if you still act it as the Philomi Days proposal, then I would have to stand up, leave the table.
What would the professor like to say about that?
Excuse me, I'd say, given that it's district infrastructure, it should be district-led project. Who pays for it and so forth is a separate issue.
Okay, so you're saying that I'm okay to vote on
Very much the same.
whatever comes as the final
It's a
proposal.
district-led project, very much the same as if
Okay.
this was changing the lighting in the arena
Yeah,
or.
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted clarification there.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so,
So just to answer the final question,
yes,
which was if we have received the quotes, we have not, because we're waiting on direction from council at this point in time as to whether or not this is a project that we're gonna leave.
okay, go ahead, Jen.
Motion to get this project done as soon as possible.
Yeah, so we have to get those quotes to find out who's gonna do it, but I mean, if we're hoping that it won't exceed the 5,000 and it'll hopefully be under the 5,000, whatever quotes we get, but if it is 5,000, we do know that the district is committed to 3,500, you said? approximately?
That's what we currently had left over in
Okay.
the park budget last year.
Okay, and we will be having a Florides meeting, and it's, as you've already heard from the chair of the Florides committee, they will make up the difference. Ish, whatever.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like we need a little bit more information, just like,
Yes,
say 100%, but like 99 from all the information that's been presented, that if the estimate comes out as expected,
yeah,
we want to get
We
it done as
should
quickly
go.
as possible.
yeah.
We need it.
Is there a second?
Secretary Fred. Now, Mayor, did you have any comments?
No, I think that's great. I'm all in favor of it.
Thank you. So we have, we have a motion then, we have a motion on the table, we have a first and a second, everybody,
that's
everybody
right.
understands, go ahead, Brian.
I just wanna clear
Yes.
something up here, just
Okay,
get a
go
little
ahead.
worried about myself and being a conflict of interest. Just what I'd be voting on, so I know that I'm not being a conflict of interest in this.
Again, at this particular time, I think that our Director of Corporate Services will make that clear whether or not, but again, that's an individual choice.
I know, I just wanna be a bit directed.
Well, you get directed.
Cause I just wanna know what the motion is voting on, so,
So Ross is saying you should repeat.
yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah.
That decision was solely
That's on
yours.
you.
Yeah, I know, I just wanted to make sure, ask some questions, thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay, so we do know what the motion is, at least I think we know what the motion is.
Proceed with upgrading the electrical in Carrot Park as soon as possible, within our guidelines and policies.
For clarification, what I
Yes.
wrote down was progress the project to obtain 3 quotes.
Mhm.
And if that's accurate, does then council want to see that and make a final decision?
No,
No,
no.
her done.
And can that extend to engaging with the Florides committee to understand what their commitment will be?
Yeah,
We can put that as an aside so that there's no further.
Fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
We will do that because they've already.
Good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody's confident with that? Okay, so we'll have a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Thank you very much, staff, for that information. Okay, now that we're gonna go back on to number 3, which is the committee of the whole structure, which we discussed at our committee of the whole meeting. So, the motion would be that we are gonna continue to meet once a month before a council meeting. And the meeting will start at 5:30, and we will separate it out. One month we will be operational services, and the next month will be recreation, arts and culture. Is that correct? Is that what everybody understands? Okay, so can I have a motion to that motion? Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Trina. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're gonna move on to storage speed vehicles, which would be number 4. And we did discuss at the committee of the whole meeting, which basically talked about 3 different options. And we picked, I believe, option number 2. Is that correct? And option number 2 was, could somebody please read that out? I don't have it in front of me.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Go ahead.
That staff be directed to continue to monitor vehicle speeds and accept that 1 or 2 drivers are exceeding the speed.
Perfect. So do we have,
Motion.
thank you, Janet. Thank you, Trina. Any more questions? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Great, thank you. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to new business. Are you okay over there?
Got it? Yeah, okay. Louise is on.
Okay, everything's good? Pat, you can't see it, but there's a lot of motion going on over there at at the staff table, going back and forth, trying to figure out all the stuff we're doing here.
Getting a little restless.
Getting a little restless with there. Okay, we're gonna go on to new business now. So the first thing we're gonna talk about, we need a motion for this, and that's with regards to the fire department emergency services agreement, and Councillor Tidbury has his hand up. Go ahead,
I'll
Councillor.
make that motion.
Can you make that motion? Do I have a second? Thank you, Janet. Is there any discussion? Now, this has been in place for a number of years now. It's been very successful. And it's sort of like reciprocity. They work together as a group, and if they need help from one community to another, they go over there and they give them help, right? And so it's a great program. And it's been, I think it's been very successful. So is there any questions with regards to it? Mayor, did you have anything, comments with regards to this?
No, I think it's a great program and I think we should go for it and continue supporting it.
Thank you, Mayor. Go ahead, Councillor Texmo.
Just new to it. How long has this been going on for?
Yeah, go ahead, Heather.
Sure, if it's okay, thank you. So through the chair, the agreement has actually been going on at least 15 years.
Yeah.
From my understanding, and so I've been on the North Island now for 12 years, and I believe we renewed the agreement in May when I started working there. It hasn't changed very much, except that, there's been just a few clerical things, in terms of insurance and those kind of things that have come up. The fire departments all review it. They make recommendations as to the respect of that happening, because Patrick Donahue actually works with the fire chiefs
Yeah.
on the North Island in that regard. They meet regularly. They have a regular meeting that they also discuss opportunities. And then what this actually entails is that at any time, any fire department on the North Island can call upon their neighbors at any point in time to be able to come in and assist. With regards to one of our biggest fires that we recently had was the Creekside Fire. We had about 8 members that showed up on site from our department, and then which was the initial call. And then of course more obviously came out, but Port McNeil, Cole Harbour all also attended in order to support that as well. And standing by to come over was also Alert Bay, just in case it was going to take that toll. And I know that Port McNeil and Alert Bay use it on a regular basis as well as Wolf Creek, which is in close proximity. So this is a great tool.
Yeah, okay, no, that's good. I was just, a big question of mine was reading this was what is it, is the fire department involved with reviewing this?
It's just more bodies
Right,
and more equipment.
yeah. Awesome, thank you.
And the method to implement that.
Yeah, and like liabilities and everything like that with going about doing it.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. So do we have a motion?
You did?
Thank you, John.
You already have it.
I already asked that, eh?
Yeah,
Oh, my goodness, see?
You're
All the
correct.
questions.
in the right order, you see.
Call the
We even
question.
had
Yeah.
questions.
No one expected
Okay.
the question.
Yeah, thanks, Brian, on that one. Yep, yeah, good question, though. I mean, to give you an idea what it's all about, I think it's really important. Okay, so no other questions or comments? If not, all in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Okay, that's passes, thank you. Okay, correspondence, we're going to correspondence now, and we're talking about Lisa Stewart, Director of the Canadian Association of Physician Assistants. And that's for information. Is there any comments with regards to that letter that we received? Basically, I think that, oh, go ahead, Pat. Did you have something?
I was just going to say, I was wondering if we could possibly send a letter back saying thank you very much for this information. We appreciate it. And if we need more information from her or she needs our support, that to get a hold of us.
Mm-hmm.
I'll second that.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you. No, we don't need to have a motion for that, do we, Heather? It's just giving the direction to staff with regards to that. Is that correct?
The motion is fine. It's
Okay.
already been made, so we'll turn it.
Okay, motion, we got a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Good, thank you. We'll move on to the next one then, basically, what we heard report transition. Oh, my lord. Yeah, reading through it really didn't tell me anything that I didn't already know.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
With regards to, there isn't really a transition plan, it's just to talk about having one. And I guess some of the concerns that I had with regards to that was, yeah. What are they doing to support the people in the province that's already lost their employment? Unfortunately, we were talking the other day about grants and in our learning council meeting with the Ventas the other day, we talked a lot about the possibility to get grants for employment and for businesses and whatever. And one of the main things they talked about is a grant out there that you could get funding for people that have lost employment in the forestry industry. And one of the questions obviously that I asked, well, what about the aquaculture industry with regard to the loss of jobs on Discovery Island? And now that the Broughtons will be closing shortly. I believe that the last time I talked to Moe, there's only one farm left in the Broughtons. And that'll be closing probably by the end of the year. So you got 50% of the fish that used to come to the processing plant here not available anymore. What are they doing for the people that have lost that employment? And the federal government is still working on the transition plan. So really not helping those people at all. And the province has done nothing for the people that have lost their employment in that. So I think one of the things that we can do, I guess, as mayor and council, we could talk to our local MLA and say, well, what about our people that have already lost employment? What are they going to be doing to help support them? At this particular time, they're not doing anything. Go ahead, Councillor Robertson.
I agree. I think, there's a couple things. One, the clarity, if you have a transition and you mention transition in a report, in the title of the report, my world, transition gives you here and lets you transition to here. We have here, but we don't see no there. So, which was my colloquialism of saying, there is no clarity, as you're saying, into what the transition is to, because there are some options that are quite different from each other and will have a significant impact, different impact on the North Island. So I really believe they need to listen to the voices of our communities. They need to consult, as they have said they would, with First Nation, and to be prepared to take the answers that they hear. And I also believe that in talking to the MLA, there was some discussion of a letter of support from government, from the Premier. And I think it might be in the works. I don't know. I'm not heavily consulted in that area, but I think it's also a good idea to see that, even at this point, that we can be the voice for our communities, but there also need to be other voices coming through in support of our communities. And we need to hear them.
Joy, thank you. Mayor, any comments with regards to that report?
Oh, I think you and Councillor Robertson have summed up my feelings about it as well. It's a fairly unclear report on what the transition is going to be, and we know it seems to be happening already because they've left our farm fish producers kind of in limbo about what they can be doing and not doing. So it's very challenging. So, Councillor Robertson, are you thinking that Premier Eby is responding to our letter?
I'm not sure at this point. It's worth asking the question.
So would you suggest we talk to our MLA if he's going to respond to the letter?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think just following up and asking. I think Yeah, I think something's in the works, I'm just not sure what, and following up and asking for that letter of support.
Mhm.
Just a little note. In Scotland, farm fishing is growing in numbers. I've,
It's because
I
they feed the fish scotch.
maybe that's it, but I took as I traveled through there, I saw a couple of mowing, places, you know, I could see them. And they're very similar to ours.
Mhm.
And, the signs are there and I asked about farm fish and stuff like that over there in the communities as I was, going around. And they say that's the only way to go. They haven't got no wild fish.
Mhm.
And that's what's gonna happen here.
Yeah, go ahead, Jenna.
Just on this report, I mean, it's a collection of opinions that they're very diverse. None of them are, I don't think, are scientific. It's just simply a collection of opinions and really, other than hearing people's opinions, I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of all of that time and energy is, this report, but yeah, that's all I'll say for now.
Thank you. Councilor Texmo?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate what everyone's saying, just reading through it. It's all just opinions and the same opinions that we keep hearing over and over again with nothing basing behind it. It's just all, you know, for political gains for certain people to make political decisions to appease certain people. And it's very frustrating because it seems like we're just losing that war. Because it feels like we're in a war or a battle with, you know, against science and emotion, basically. You know, here's science, here's emotion, and emotion always seems to win because people scream the loudest and try and make for political movement, and we're just on the tail end of it. And, you know, it's different when a mill closes down because the market's bad, but when someone actually makes a decision based off emotion instead of science and gets jobs taken away and then no government comes in to help, I think it's, to me, it's just disgusting. There's no help at all. Yeah, they're the ones that made the decision to get rid of people's jobs.
Well said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said. Go ahead, Gina.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with everyone at the table. It is, it's sad.
Okay, well, we'll do what we can do, and I guess the next thing is we'll just have to talk to our MLA, Michelle Babchak, and see where that letter is. It's supposed to be in support of us and our rural community, coastal communities, which we need their support for. Okay, so let's move on to this interesting one. It's called invitation to start a Port Hardy Community Fund. I would have to say that it was a little bit confused.
Well, isn't this the same group that came to us?
I think this is a
so.
different group.
It's a different
Mayor,
group?
Oh,
Mayor, have you got,
the Quayle people, no, this is different.
no, this is
That's the
different.
Children's Health Foundation. Okay.
I would like to, I would definitely like to hear what our mayor has to say about this letter, which I'm a little bit confused about, actually.
So I'm a little bit confused about it too, but at the end, they said they'd be willing to come and talk to us. So I'm wondering if we could ask them to come and do a presentation to council so that we have a better understanding of what they have to offer the town.
And hopefully they could send us a little bit of information ahead of time, a little bit more detail, rather than just a letter, because it doesn't really tell you a
No,
lot.
like, are you taking funds that are already in our high interest savings account that we're already making money off of and give it to them? Like, you know, are we gonna make more interest giving money to them or not? That's the big question, right?
So far, it doesn't make a lot.
Doesn't make a lot of sense, yeah, so a presentation would be helpful.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds like,
Wasting their time entirely.
yeah. No, so the direction to staff is to reach out to them to come to do a presentation, is that correct? Is that okay?
And to provide more information.
Yes. Okay, great, thank you.
What I was thinking.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so let's move on to the request from Dorothy Hunt in regards to Carrot Park for June 16th. For the monument blessing, and I know that we were fortunate enough to be down there for our welcoming pole celebration with Calvin Hunt and a number of the Quag youth there on Saturday, and maybe the mayor would like to speak with regards to this ceremonial pole that's gonna start in Port Hardy, which I think is pretty awesome. Mayor?
Yeah, so I was talking, I don't know how many of you follow Stan Hunt on social media, but he's been carving a pole that is quite amazing. It's orange and black, and it's representing all the children that did not come home from residential school. And the plan is for the pole to leave from Port Hardy on the 16th. It's going to take a number of days to get down to Victoria on the 21st, and then it's going to be going over to Vancouver. And the pole is pretty remarkable, but even more so, what it's representing is even more remarkable. So, to my mind, having this celebration, a ceremony in honor of the children, starting off in Port Hardy at Carrot Park is something that should be done, and I'm hoping everybody will vote unanimously that it will go forward then and there.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so we need a motion from the floor. Thank you, Trina. And second? Okay, Fred, thank you, Fred. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so ceremonial poll go. Okay, now also we have a letter or request for a motion for Canada Day 2023 celebration request. And I noticed in that request that they were asking for a lot of assistance from the District of Port Hardy staff. So with regards to that, I'll ask Heather and staff, is this, are they asking for more than what they normally would have asked for?
I'm gonna ask Anne, if that's okay. Because it does seem like it's a bit more than we've done in the past.
Sorry, for which one?
For the Canada Day request, have we ever delivered anything to them besides the garbage bags?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No,
Yes.
you haven't.
They're asking for tents and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And this is on a Saturday to boot.
Yes,
You haven't in the past.
But I guess they could drop it off on a Friday and pick it up on a Monday. Is that what they're asking?
well, we have this beautiful utility trailer now in the back that is meant for delivering things and leaving them at the farmer's market. So
Okay.
if we have tents in the utility trailer, the utility trailer could be sent down with a key.
Okay. Now, the tent that they were requesting, is that not
It's
a
one of,
bigger tent?
no, it's a 20 by 20 tank.
Okay, okay.
But they're also requesting assistance to set it up and tear it down.
Yeah.
So unless council wants to provide an opportunity for some part-time rec staff to work on weekend, that would be where that would have to come from.
Okay, so yeah, because that's why I was asking, that because it seems like there's gonna be more that they're asking for that would take up our staff time at a cost, obviously. So that cost, does that come off of that budget?
We actually have a community events budget that we
Okay,
would charge that to.
okay,
You need 3 people.
okay. Okay, council, any discussions with regards to that? Mayor, do you have any comments with regards to this?
Well, I couldn't quite hear what Heather was saying about is this covered under the Canada Day budget from the visitor center, or would this come out of a different budget if we approved having district staff work on their days off?
So if I may,
Yes.
okay, so there's one of two options that could happen. One option would be that we would say to the visitor center that it would come off of their budget for the total event, and that it would be billed out to that, which means they would have to reduce their services being provided to the community for Canada Day as part of that, or council could allocate funds within the community event budget, which is what we use to support Palomi Days, when we do the barricade, and any kind of extra work that we do on the weekends to support Palomi Days. So it's the same type of budget. And we have in the past charged things like pre-pool usage, and provided staff down at the park on Canada Day for certain specific events like hula hoops, in the past, and it has come out of that community event budget and not out of the Canada Day budget. So I leave it completely up to council since this is an additional ask.
Did you get all that, Mayor?
I did. So I guess the next question is, do you think we have enough staff to help out on July 4th? And I guess it starts on June 30th.
On July the
First. yeah.
1st, and then the 4th.
Sorry.
Return.
Oh, the 4th return. Sorry, yeah.
We would have to look into that. So if council wanted to just support in principle pending the opportunity to find staff, then we can work on that and then just provide us with direction as to whether or not you would like us to have the chamber reduce their budget in order to cover that cost, or to take it out of the community events budget.
Okay, Councilor Robertson?
Yeah, I would move that, we approve the request, from the community event, taking it from the community event budget, as long as there is, staff available.
Session.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any more comments? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so we have an addition, obviously, to what is called the World Harvest Gospel Tent Meeting, Carrot Park. For dates, I think it was, what was it, 8th to 11th, or is it
11th to 18th,
18th, 11 to 18? Okay,
which conflicts with what we just approved under Dorothy Hunt's request.
And it also conflicts with the farmer's market on June 11th. So what I would like to suggest is that they do it either at the Rotary Park or out at Stories Beach. So the Rotary Park over by the wastewater treatment plant, that park there.
yeah, they had an
That's
event
the
there
Quaddy
once
Park.
before too.
Or Kinsman Park it used to.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry,
Kinsman
Kinsman
Park.
Park. Kinsman
Yeah,
Park.
and that's where they've had it in the past,
Yeah,
and I can't understand why they couldn't go back there.
I think it's a
maybe-
different group.
yeah,
Okay,
and I think that they might have been looking at power too. Because before at the other place, they had to use generators. Because there's no power there.
oh,
Where Carrot Park, they have power, availability to power. But that's hearsay, but it does conflict with other issues at Carrot Park. Go ahead, Heather.
I just have a couple of comments. So one is, it's up to about 400 people that they're expecting. So Sequatty Park might not be the best opportunity. Not a lot of parking, et cetera. Carrot Park actually wouldn't even be
No.
great in my mind for
No.
that either. And I'm not trying to completely be negative about the entire event, but the other issue is that it is 93 feet that they need in order to have the tent. And as we know, the winds on the water are quite wicked. And I know that Paloma Days already struggles when they put up their tents and leave them up for 1 or 2 days. The last time we approved a church revival tent project, which is the one that I think that Mayor Corbett Labatt is referring to, is that they were down there before. They actually camped in our park, which wasn't agreed upon ahead of time, and they are talking about having 24/7 security, but we don't permit camping in Carrot Park or Sequatty Park, but we do permit it out at Stories Beach.
Yeah,
So if we were trying to figure out a way to make it so that somebody could be visible there 24/7, we could allow for a camping permit, which is about $250 for that to happen for that event, as well as the daily park use fee and the damage deposit. The other option that we could also address as well for this particular group is there are lots of opportunities for using assembly space in commercially zoned properties that might be more fitting. For instance, the Thunderbird Mall, the North Island Mall, thank you very much, which have ample parking space. So there might be an opportunity there to help direct these individuals into finding a proper suitable location.
thank you, Heather. Go ahead, Councilor Robertson.
I would suggest that we, actually say no to their current, because of current conflicts, and if they would like to reapply for somewhere else within, Port Hardy jurisdiction, like our, parks or anything, they're welcome to do so. We'll evaluate that, or they could also look at private areas as well. I mean, we're not gonna, it's not up to us to suggest what they wanna do, it's up
You
to
make
us.
that motion?
Yeah.
Second?
Thank you. Are you trying to make me be quiet? Wouldn't be the first time.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, well, thank you, but you got the gist of that one, Heather?
So we're denying the request based on the complex, and if they want to come back with another alternative location within town, that they can do that. But also we can let them know about the privately owned.
Yeah, but the only other alternative that
Is
they really
Storrs
have is Storrs Beach. So they would have to be noted that's district stuff, but if you don't like that, then you have to look at commercial.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So
So
could we, in that same, I get that Councillor Robertson's being very, very strict, but maybe when you're sending it out, just say, I'm suggesting that we also say that there are these other locations that are private that may be more suitable too.
Mhm.
That was part of the discussion.
And give them a soft no, not a hard.
Yeah.
I think that's what the mayor would think. A softer no.
And
You're totally denied your
No.
request.
now my
Big stamp in the middle.
other point of clarification is, given the timing of this, when they want to have it, actually falls like literally 2 days after the next council meeting. You're okay with staff if Storrs Beach is brought forward, that we treat it the same way as we do with the ball field, as long as it isn't being used for any ball tournaments coming up.
Mhm.
I would say yes.
Yes, everybody good with that?
As long as, I just want to make sure everybody's okay.
Yep. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have enough power out there?
We have enough, we have more power out there than we do down at the park. And we also have better washrooms.
Yeah.
Good point.
Do we have like a booking system for the park? Like like Carrot Park? Yeah, do we keep track?
We
Yeah,
keep track.
okay.
Yeah, so, typically it's a park use permit. People come in and apply for a park use permit. The
For Carrot
majority of- What's that?
For Carrot Park?
For Carrot Park.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
So it could be anything. We've had yoga down in the park. We've had people who sell, the frozen juice and
Right.
the, Asian hay that'll go down there and rent out the park. We've had, the schools will call and ask to use the park. There are people that just congregate there just to use it as a park, and we have no idea, and all of a sudden we'll get a call. But if they're not opening it up to the public, then there's no reason for us to intervene in any way, shape, or form. Where it comes in is when they're gonna be saying, here's our event, and we're gonna be hosting the event here, and now they're kind of taking over management of that. But anybody wanting to have like a picnic with like 50 people or whatever, that just happens to happen organically, is like, well, we're not gonna get involved in that.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, we can move on. No, we can't.
All the question.
Call the question. Okay, a motion. We have a motion?
We have a motion.
We have a motion. We have first and second. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. We get so much discussion going, I forget what it was we do there. Okay, that's why you gotta come back, Pat. Your holidays are over. Okay, the finance department talks about the checks. So is there any questions with regards to the checks? And I know that I sign a lot of checks. A lot of checks. I love those big ones, that are BCI.
That's why you get the big bucks.
Yeah, yeah, right. But hey, I only got a month to go and then somebody else is gonna be doing it, so that's even better. Okay, so any questions with regard to the checks? If not, we'll carry on. Okay, clear bylaws and agenda, nothing pending bylaws. We have a bylaw, official community plan amendment bylaw, which is coming up, and the zoning amendment bylaw, which is coming up. And now we will have our council reports. And we'll start off with the mayor.
Oh, thank you. So even though I've been away a fair bit, I have not been away from attending meetings virtually, and then some things in person as well. So one of the ones that I did virtually the other day was with our CAO, and it was the preliminary champion situation table meeting, discussing our next steps and how the training is going to roll out and who to invite to it and all the different steps on forming a situation table. And once the training starts, it will take about 12 weeks of training. It's all done virtually. And so that was very interesting meeting, very well run, stayed on time. And so it sounds very interesting. I had a soft launch of the Mayor's Downtown Revitalization Task Force, and we're hoping to have a bit more structured response at the beginning of June, and we'll see how that goes. I was honored to be at the Visitor Center on Saturday to hear about some of the history of where the welcome pole is and have the welcome pole blessed. And that was very, very well attended and very moving. With Councillor Robertson, I attended an Island Health breakfast with some upper management and discussing our health situation up here. And again, we talked about the staffing that's going on. So they're really happy with the staffing that's been recruited, and people are really happy with the full staffing complement, but there's still challenges on getting physicians. Again, I reiterated that we still want a 24/7 emergency room operation in Port Hardy, and they did hear that and they agreed with that, and they said that the minister or the premier and the Minister of Health have no intentions of closing our ER, and we'll keep it open. I attended the Royal Museum engagement session, the community engagement session, and there will be a virtual one that I'm invited to in the next month. I attended the Regional District of Mount Waddington meeting, and it was interesting. It was really well done, and I'm not sure why it seems so different, but I think part of it was the delegation that came to the RD meeting. It was from the Strathcona Regional District, and they talked about the Connected Coast project and how they basically have all the nodes in place, and now they're starting to get things operational up north, and they're going to be slowly moving down island. So that was really good. Talked about the regional transportation study, and it's still ongoing, and that was interesting. But what was the most moving part of their presentation was the presentation called Just Like Home. And I don't know about Councillor Dugas, but I had tears in my eyes after seeing the presentation. So the Just Like Home will be similar to the presentation we had on the home that's operational right now. I cannot remember the name of it, for women and families that are going to have children or babies. But this Just Like Home has not been built yet, but will be built beside it. They're looking at raising $2 million to get it going. It will have 10 rooms, so that a family that, say, one of their members is undergoing chemo treatment, or it could be day surgery, or it could be another surgery, they can stay there. They don't have to worry about finding a hotel room. And what was so moving about the presentation is they used North Island people and how this home would have made such a difference to them while they were undergoing treatment. So like I said, they're looking at raising $2 million. They've got, I think they said 1.2 million already raised. They're doing all these different fundraising. And I asked them, I said, 2 million, when we know what the cost of building is right now, and this is going to be a fairly large unit, how could 2 million build a 10-bedroom big complex with the kitchen and that, but I think they've got other backers who said if you can get 2 million raised, then well, it's a goal. So they've got different fundraising happening. They've got a fundraiser that's going to be happening in Port McNeill at sometime soon at Devil's Bath Brewery. Santula is talking about doing a trivia night as a fundraiser. So I'm thinking Port Hardy should have a presentation from the Just Like Home group to discuss how Port Hardy can do a fundraiser here.
Mhm.
So that was one thing. And then in conclusion, I would just like to thank my Deputy Mayor, Dennis Dugas, for the great job he's been doing for the past 6 months. And I will look forward to working with my new Deputy Mayor, Janet Dorwood, starting June 1st. So thank you very much, Dennis.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder. Hope you're back by then.
I'm not
Yes.
planning any more trips.
Oh,
Okay, Pat?
oh, and I
You
just
good?
wanted to say, Janet, I'm around most of the summer. It's after the summer I might take off different times. So
Well, it's a good matchup then.
yes.
Some of it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mayor. Okay, we'll go on to John. Cindy's been so active. Counselor.
I've been in another country and what time is it now?
3:30.
Or
Thank you for,
For-
It's 4 o'clock. It's 4 hours ahead. And that's where I am right now. I keep closing my eyes on it. I don't know if you noticed.
it's 8 hours.
8 hours ahead. You
so are you
forgot, John.
encouraging us to be quick?
Yes,
Okay, and you did enjoy your holidays.
I did enjoy my holidays and I learned a lot of things from it too, so,
Okay, good. We'll look forward to that when you're not so tired.
yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Janet, you got something for us?
Yes, the Port Hardy Fire Rescue invited us all to see motivational speaker Michael Portatello. He was born with muscular dystrophy. Cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I knew it was cerebral palsy. I've seen it before. He is great. I mean, listening to how all these challenges he's overcome is amazing. So I really love listening to him. It was great that they invited and it was good to get together with him. And thank you for doing such a great little chat to the whole fire department. We were there.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah, you took the wind out of the rest of us. We didn't have to say it.
Also had my first Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities meeting. A lot of it was governance. They're sort of independencing themselves from the Union of BC municipalities. So there's a bunch of that work that's underway, but also all of the surveys that we completed at the conference. They compiled all the data and it was really interesting. And if anybody wants any of that, just give me a shout. I can send that on. It's interesting to see what people thought about the different sessions, especially the main speaker there. It's different, like both ends of the spectrum there. So anyway, that's it.
Janet? Counselor Texmo.
I also attended the fire department. I was unfortunately under the weather, so I didn't stay very long, but I just went there to speak some words of encouragement and some thanks to the fire department for all that they do, and that, you know, at a citizen level and at a council level, that, everyone's thinking the same thing, that we appreciate them and that, we're gonna work towards a healthier relationship and make sure that they're recognized in the community for all that they do. And it was cool. I had a quick chat with the guy that was there. So like talking about everything he's overcome is quite something. So I did that. And then we had our UBCM planning session. I went down, I see the senior center doing a bake sale. So I went down there and bought some cookies. So yeah, Roseline seen me. She's like, you better come here and buy some cookies. I'm like, don't worry, I'm here for it. So I did that. Attended the Foundry open house today. It was really cool to see that finally come to fruition, especially myself being involved at a construction level, to see it go from what it was to what it is now is pretty cool. And then I also randomly enough, I put on a little camera course at Vancouver Island Regional Library just to, yeah, I just went there. Just there's a lot of people in the community that reach out that want to know how to use their cameras and certain things. So I put that on, and what I learned from it is that everyone wants me to show them their camera and how to use it. So I'm gonna plan a future event free of charge again, just to bring people down, maybe down to the water and tell them to bring their cameras and, you know, teach them how to use their settings and take pictures and stuff like that. So, yeah, busy few weeks. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Counselor Smith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. May 10th, attended the Port Hardy Heritage Meeting, the 11th, the fire practice that I really enjoy the inspirational speakers while overcoming adversity. And where does adversity come from? You know, it's like, oh yeah, like, we all have to deal with it in one way or another. And he was very inspiring. The 15th, the UBCM planning. And May 16th, we sat down with Bear Smart, Heather and myself with our COs. We have 2 COs in our area, which is good. And they have a lot of excitement for our new wildlife coordinator. So they're really excited to get started working with an actual person that is going to be in that position paid. And that's been extended. So hopefully we'll get the right person for that job. Been a bit of a slow start, which is good. And of course, the big message that we need is to intercept that human behavior. The bears are smart. We don't need to try and change them, but it's the human behavior that we need to sort of stop with that bear attractance. So the 17th, we had our Bear Smart Committee where we got to put all of our heads together to come up with a plan to help with that messaging, to support our COs, because when we have a fed bear, that becomes a dead bear and then they get the bad rap for it. So hopefully we'll have some good messaging where we can call the rap line and sort of report more on the bears that we see. You know, if they're just going through the greens, that's fine. But as soon as they smell that very easy to get sort of McDonald's garbage food, then it's way easier just to go in the garbage and look for those garbages. And that's what we want to intercept is that human behavior. So hopefully we'll come up with some good videos for that. May 18th, we had our Pride Committee meeting. We'll be coming to council soon for that. We have some good news that I'll share later on once things are going. Then May 20th, attended the welcome figure ceremony down at the Carrot Park too, which was really beautiful. Yeah, that's it.
Great, thanks, Katrina. Counselor Robertson.
Can I ask Katrina a question first?
You betcha.
The wildlife coordinator position, I'm actually not that familiar with it. Is it with the province or?
It's grant funding through BC Wildlife is that right?
WildSafe BC
WildSafe
has the
BC.
funding, and WildSafe BC is actually funded jointly through the Ministry of Environment, which funds obviously the Conservation Service. And so council approved us to apply for funding. We put in $4,000, they put in $4,000, and then they train a wildlife coordinator to work about 400 hours in the year. And they do all of that advanced training, and then that person gets deployed within our community to basically talk to the community, set up booths, go door to door, and those kind of things to track.
Where are they working at?
It will be
Be here.
probably. remote.
We'll negotiate that once we
Okay.
find the right person, but we need people to apply for the position so that we can actually do the interviews.
Okay, I'm just not remembering any of that. Anyway, that's good. Yeah.
It is great, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We just need people to apply, yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. So I was also with the other councillors at the Paul Blessing downtown last Saturday, and it was very interesting in the history, and it was quite convenient. There was an anchor already there in place, so they just plopped the pole down, anchored it up, and so anyway, yeah, I was there and just listening to some of the history was quite interesting. There's a borough meeting coming up, but I should just mention that there was negotiations with the library board and CUPE, and they've settled. There's a tentative settlement out there, so and I think it's pretty consistent with other settlements around. So that was actually pretty good to hear, given that the last round of negotiations with BCGEU ended in job action. So that was very positive. I was fortunate to be at the same breakfast as the mayor with Island Health, and one of those places where I got to wear a couple of hats and listening to some of the staffing initiatives and positive aspects of some of the staffing initiatives that they have in place, and some of the challenges and how they're beginning to try and tackle those challenges. And also, I just heard today that the transportation shuttle with Island Health, both intercommunity and down south, is beginning. So that's a really, particularly down to the southern parts of in Campbell River and Courtney will be a huge help for people seeking treatment down there. And I was very fortunate also to be at the Foundry opening today. And it was actually quite interesting in that they're upgoing their staff in place. They will be talking to people, to youth starting tomorrow. And there was lots of people, the people who had donated to it. I think some people were there, and that was amazing to see their contributions that they made to it. But I would like to, in particular, acknowledge the initial work and ongoing work of Angela Smith, Pat Corbett Labatt, and Chris Parker, when they put in the initial expression of interest, and lots of work following that up, and also with Christine Swain, who also has done a lot of work. And I believe, starting now and over the course of the next time, will make a difference in our community.
Good work.
Yeah, it is good work. Anyway, that's me, so.
Thank you. Yeah, with regards to the Foundry, I was fortunate enough to be there today. And yeah, it was really awesome to see the staff that they have in place, and they're excited about it. They're really looking forward to tomorrow and their heart opening tomorrow morning, starting at 9:30. They're going to be full bore ahead, and it's awesome. And I did have an opportunity for a moment just to say how appreciative we are of as the District of Port Hardy, and I sent my regrets, Pat, that you weren't there to be able to attend, but your heart was there because of all the work that you've done to be a part of that. And I think that was so important that that you were recognized as being as instrumental in getting that all going. And so thank you very much for being a part of that. That's awesome. And I think it's definitely going to make a big difference in our community, without a doubt. And I'm really excited about the prospects as it grows, because it's going to continually to grow, right? So that's awesome. I was also involved with our Learning Council meeting. It's sort of a section of our Ventus, with regard to the Vancouver Island North Training and Attraction Society. And we talked about, with a number of different people from the province, Bridget, who's one of our representatives for this area, and saying there's so many grants out there to apply for. And as I mentioned in our committee of the whole meeting, with regards to getting information and monies in place for those that have lost their jobs in the aquaculture industry, how important that is to give them support so they can, as Councillor Robinson had mentioned, the transition plan is to go from one thing to something else. Well, come on, help us with the something else, whatever that might be, for those that are looking for other employment. They need that help. I had the pleasure of being involved with the Salmonid Enhancement Workshop this past weekend here in Port Hardy. And it was put on by our group here, our North Island group, SEP group, Salmon Enhancement Program that we have on the North Island. And we have two enhancement programs, one at the Marble River and one at the Quatsy. And that group got together. And in 1991, when SEP was formed, the first meeting that they got for all of the province was here in Port Hardy. And this was so many years later, 30-some years later, they're having it again here in Port Hardy. There was over 200 attendees from all over the province, as far away as Houston and Haida Gwaii and the Lower Mainland in the interior. There was a lot of people here, and they were really excited about being in Port Hardy. And thanks to Heather, because I came on Friday and I completely forgot about getting Port Hardy pins to be able to hand out to all the attendees. And, I sent Heather, an email or a text Saturday morning. Is there any chance I can get some pins to hand out at the banquet tonight? And she got it all together for me. So every attendee there, I have to say, I handed to them personally a pin of Port Hardy saying, you're in Port Hardy, now you're living the adventure, so please come back. So it was a great turnout. It was a great event. It went on for 3 days, Friday night, all day Saturday and Sunday. They went on tours all over the place. And a lot of them left on Monday. So they spent 3 days here and they had a great time. And our weather held out, so that was even better. So that was a lot of fun. With regards to what our mayor mentioned with regard to Just Like Home, yes, Pat, it did bring a tear to my eye when they did that presentation, because they had a video of a lady, and I can't remember her name, Pat might remember her name, but in Port McNeill, then they had to drive down continually down island, back and forth to go down there to get treatments, and there wasn't anywhere for them to stay. And it was very expensive, obviously, to go down there and have to stay in a hotel and stay overnight. And so the possibility of having this in place for people from the North Island going down is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. They've already have a facility there for those that are having children, and I think Fred's family actually got them.
Yes, they stayed there.
They stayed there.
Presentation at the same time, so that Sage was born 2 weeks ago, just over 2 weeks ago. And Max and Courtney and Paxton and Eleonora and Courtney's parents, or no, just Eleanor, were staying there. They were amazed. They were blown away how good it was and how helpful it was. And it saved them a ton of money.
Yeah.
That's
So, and this next facility they're gonna build is gonna be doing the same thing for different reasons. So I think it's fantastic. So really, that's all I have to say. And like I say, I was at the pole ceremony and that was very, very good. And I think one thing that was funny about it was that Tom Child, and I think Pat will remember this, he said, well, what are you gonna do about the hydrant dance? There's a hydrant plump right there, and they were trying to take pictures of how are they gonna hide the hydrant from the pictures? And Tom Child says, well, you guys gotta do, now the council has to do a hydrant dance, and he was looking at Trina, hoping Trina was gonna come up with the dance, but we didn't have one, but maybe we should come up with one time. We'll have to send him a video of our hydrant dance, but.
The obvious motions, the obvious actions are not accepted.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, actually. It was quite cute, but it was a very, very well done ceremony there for the pole dedication, or for the, I guess it's they call it the basic. Well, it was already raised, but I guess they were talking about, it's a welcoming pole, I believe it is, to the area, and it was very, very nice. And pole is beautiful, very nice, very nice. So anyways, that's all I have. So let's move on to the next part of our agenda, which is information and announcements. Unfortunately, our power is going to be off this coming Sunday. All day, it looks like, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So hopefully the weather will be half decent and we can all be outside, so it won't matter.
You can thank me for that outage.
Thanks, Brian.
Why, are you being a part of this whole adventure?
The PwC PricewaterhouseCoopers house that is in charge of basically remediating the Port Ellis Fault Mill.
Okay,
They're in charge of the substation that's there. It's privately owned substation, but run by BC Hydro. So they need an independent contractor such as myself to go in there and test all the high voltage equipment and exercise everything. And it's gonna be a full day event. So, we have to take down the whole transmission line to be able to do that. And then while doing that, of course, Hydro will go around to other substations and perform some maintenance and such, so.
so are you guaranteeing that it'll be back on by 7?
Has to be,
Or
yeah,
by 5, I mean?
has to be.
'Cause I
Yeah,
believe
whatever
it-
testing, we got a window and whatever testing we can't get done. Unless there's some sort of catastrophic failure during the testing, let's hope that doesn't happen. Yeah,
Don't even say that.
yeah, so it'll be back on.
You can have an early morning on Sunday.
Yes,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for being involved with that process. So you'll make sure it's done on time. That's awesome. So are there any other, comments with regard to,
Has her hand up.
pardon me, Pat, go ahead, sorry.
Just wanted to mention on June 11th is the first Port Hardy Farmers Market.
Oh,
So if anyone's around,
and that time is usually from what, Pat?
it's from 11 till 2 this year.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Any other comments or? We got quite a list going on there. Okey dokey.
Councilor Diggis?
Yes, sir.
Just for council's information, you can expect to see groundbreaking happening this week. You'll see mobilization of the equipment at the new McDonald's store site.
Okay.
So they are looking at opening into September.
Into September.
End of September.
Oh, no.
Well, I was, just drove, I had a meeting actually with,
Modular.
I had a meeting with Port Hardy Bulk today and they have their people in there already working this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're already up, they're already at it, getting there done. So anyways, they got a lot of work, he said, but it's gonna be great. So thank you for that update. Any other questions? If not, those for our in-camera meeting with June the 6th at 5 PM. So there will be one at 5 PM on June 6th. Do I have a adjournment? Would you like to put their hand up? Oh, Mr. Councilor Robertson put his hand up, so we are adjourned. Now, for questions pertaining to the